right, good evening, everyone. Happy Monday to you. Pray that you had a great Monday, that you had an even one better weekend, that you enjoyed some of that nice weather that we had the past few days. Honestly, I got really disappointed last night. I stepped outside and I could feel that cold air shift right on in. And today I didn't really go out at all. Did I go out? I went to the store, but by then it was definitely cold. Um, but I still pray that you've been enjoying your day. It's still been nice and sunny. I just wish that other weather could have stayed around because it gave us a taste of what that spring's going to be like. Um, and I love the springtime. My two favorite seasons are spring and fall. Not when it's too hot and not when it's too cold, but right there in between is the times I like. Even though I'm a summer baby, which may be why, because I was born middle of July. And you would think I would love the heat, but not so. Not so. Thank y'all again for joining. I'm really excited about our conversation that we're going to have tonight. Hey, Tammy, thank you for joining tonight. Always happy to see you. Need everybody kind of check in as you come in. Let me know that you're there. Really looking forward to this coming year. I'm holding off on some announcements that concerning this coming year because April 13th will be one whole year that I launched this. So I'm looking forward to maybe changing a few things. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Elston. Thank y'all for coming. I'm looking forward to changing some things just to refresh a little bit. I've learned some things over the past year. I'm still learning some things, but I am looking forward to some new beginnings, especially going forward for 2021, since 2020 was a very interesting year, I know, for everyone. But hey, Eric, nice to see you too as well, sir. Tony, nice to see you too. Thank y'all. Cassandra, hey, Cassandra. Oh my, everybody's checking in. I love this. Um, you know, I'm really looking forward to this conversation tonight with this. I'll say young lady, this woman of God, this pastor. I was saying to her before we got on, we know each other. We've been in each other's company, but we don't know each other where we've had like real long conversations where I don't feel like there's still some things that I cannot still learn about her or what she does in her ministry. So before I bring her in, I am going to read her bio. Okay, so let me bring it in. So it says here, Placida Braswell has over 20 years of experience in leadership in both ministry and in the marketplace. Placida is the founder of and chief elevating officer of Women Elevated Incorporated, an organization to celebrate, empower, and equip women towards their purpose. As an ordained pastor, Placida has been recognized for her dynamic ability to inspire and motivate people, to move people beyond the pain, to live out a life of purpose. Placida is co-host of Maintain Mondays. I've checked in on those a few times. Elevation Rewind, the Elevate Your Life Tour, which are only a few of the initiatives of the Global Christian Media Conglomerate, Elevation Global Media Group. Placida is also a published author in Dear Daughter 2017, and she is contributing author in the upcoming release, My Son, which will be released later on, which highlights her commitment to family and her first ministry. She currently serves as community daily. She currently serves her community daily through her role as regional program director for WIN or Win Family Health, a faith-based mental health and human services organization headquartered in the Baltimore, Maryland, committed to changing lives and strengthening families. Placida obtained her Master of Arts, Human Services, with a focus on marriage and family from Liberty University. Placida and her husband, Eric, live in Maryland along with their 8 children and 1 grandchild. All right. Wow. 8. I did not know that there were 8 children. See, I just learned
Yes.
something new already. Welcome, Pastor Placida.
Thank you. Please just call me Placida.
I know that's right. I know that. That's, I find that most of the people that I connect with are the same like me. It's not really about the title. It's all about the
Mm-mm.
service.
That's
It's
it.
all about
That's
the
it.
service.
Thank you so
Um,
much for having me. Thank you.
I'm
I
so happy
appreciate.
to have you here. And it's like I was saying, we are in the same circle per se, but we don't
Hmm.
really get to talk. Um, I won't say the first time I remember meeting you. Just let me adjust this for just a second. It was before the Dear Daughter, because my wife was also contributing author in that as well.
Yes.
And you probably can see, I noticed that she always sneaks that book up in behind me. You can see it up
I
on the
see it. I
top
see it up
shelf.
there. Yes.
She
Uh-huh.
sneaked that book up in there. Um,
Your
so
lovely wife is amazing. She
yeah,
she
that's
was.
how I met you. I believe we knew each other before that point. Um,
Hmm.
But again, even though we were somewhat in the same circles, we never really intersected. So, like I was saying earlier, I'm really looking forward to get to know more about you. I mean, I know some of the things you've done. Like I just found out you had 8 kids. I had no idea that you had that many kids.
Yes.
Um, so but I know, through like meeting you through Cassandra and things like that. Miss Cassandra, since she's on, I'm waiting for that first party, Cassandra, where we're all getting together.
I
Your
know that's
awesome
right.
party. So
Well, you know
yeah,
her and Tony know how to throw a party,
yeah,
so
they know how to throw a
they
party.
know how to throw a party.
That never gets too far out of hand.
That's right. Exactly.
Um, so it's it, let's start here. Uh, we are coming up. What is today? We just passed a year of when the world pretty much shut down, at
Hmm.
least for the states.
Yes.
Shut down. What have you been doing for this past year or so?
Wow, a whole lot. I feel like many of us have been working harder, right? We seem to spend so many hours in front of the computer if you work from home, but our time can be spent way more efficiently, I think, with less travel time, which
Hmm.
for me in the beginning of the pandemic, it took some adjusting, right? It took some at first it was great. It was like I get to work from home. I don't have to ask, like, you know what I mean?
Right,
It's
right.
good. We all had our fears about what it really meant, but learning how to be with the ones you love
Mm,
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Especially, I do have children at home. At the time, I had to bring one of my children back from college, another one back from a training program. It was a lot of moving parts. So during the pandemic, I would say I got to know me better.
mm. That's good. That's
There
good.
were, yeah, everything wasn't cute. Wasn't
Mm,
cute. I saw some areas that I needed to develop more, even in, my interpersonal relationships with it, that when you see each other, for 8 hours a day and then you sleep, you good. But then when you spending that kind of time together and sharing space and learning how to, be, and for me, I'm an extrovert. So
mm.
I appreciate my time out with others. I
Right.
appreciate that time, that social interaction. I was missing my friends. So there were some hard times, but there was also some wonderful growth when it came to like ministry. I had to shift. I had to take a different approach. I had just launched Women Elevated in the last quarter of 2019. So I had big plans. In fact, the weekend that the world shut down was going to be our first in-person seminar. And so we had to make that decision to should we have it in person? I don't know if you remember that. It was kind of like you could do things, but I don't know exactly what the terms were, but we could make the decision to continue to have it, and we decided not to. And so it was
Okay.
like that was my first interaction with what is this thing going to look like, right? What is it going to look like? How am I going to shift and still I know I heard from God. I know he said do this,
Right.
but what will that mean? And so we have definitely shifted and continued to have like a really powerful presence throughout the pandemic. again, learning and being flexible with the Lord and saying, listening to his leading has caused us to shift in some powerful directions to still continue to serve the community. So I would say for me,
Amen.
it's been a time of renewing, healing, and also growing.
Good, good. Um, so, you mentioned a couple of challenges. Was there anything that really, and trust me, I'm gonna get to those other questions that we talked about, but
Uh-huh.
were there
Let's,
any specific challenges that kind of took you by surprise that you was like, you
yeah.
know, this is something I really need to look at, and I'm really am curious. Part two, you said you're an introvert. Does that I mean you're an extrovert? Does that mean Eric is an introvert?
So I thought hilarious. I thought I was super extroverted. I married someone who we still debate who's more of an extrovert because now I wait for him well, at the end of church, I'm the one waiting for him. Like, will he finish
Mm,
talking to you know what I mean? So I can eat
okay.
something, So we're both extroverts, which we've had to learn how to give each other space, meaning
Okay.
in the conversation, to listen effectively, to hear each other and
Yeah.
not over talk each other and that kind of thing. So but we're both extroverts. We
Yeah.
both have our share of introvert. So we're, how do you say it? Introverted extrovert. So I need my time by myself. I need
Right.
my quiet time with the Lord. I need to be able to refill but for the most part, I'm definitely an external processor.
That's good. I
Um,
mean, because I was listening to you talking about, ways that you had to grow. And if he's the same way, that's really important. That's an important lesson to learn is
mhm,
how to really hear the other person.
that's
You know what I
it.
mean? And not just hear what you want to hear or just hear what you think you hear, but because
That's
you
right.
actually take the time to listen to what the person is saying.
You
Um,
think you know me, Mark.
no, I mean, I had to do it too. Now,
It's so
I am an
true. So
introvert.
true. Oh,
I
you're an
am an
introvert.
introvert.
Hmm.
Introvert. So I believe now. Felicia's not here at the moment, but I believe that I learned how to listen quicker than she has. But she's made her adjustments as well. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But
Hmm.
I've always been an introvert and always made it a habit to listen more than talk.
Hmm.
Because I always felt like
Hmm.
you learn more that way.
That's
Um,
it.
but yeah, you're right. This past year kind of really shows you who you are in your relationship. It
Absolutely.
shows what your relationship is really about, and it also shows you who you are in the relationship
That's
as
right.
well. So
Right.
I think that's a great thing that you've done because I'm afraid that so many people have missed out on that.
Hmm.
And you know what? Just real briefly, I want to tell everybody make sure they go to the elevation page because I noticed earlier they was broadcasting um, on your Maintain Monday. They're broadcasting about spousal abuse and how uh,
Hmm.
that is right now.
It's a
And if
powerful
there's
show.
anybody out there dealing with that, anybody out there who knows somebody that may be dealing with that, you definitely want to go check out that conversation. Um, I wasn't
Thank you
able to
for
listen to the
that.
whole thing because I had to start getting ready for this. But that is the flip side. If you don't take the time to really get to know who you are and who that other person is, you can fall into some really bad stuff. And I pray nobody's
Absolutely.
out there dealing with that. Um,
The sad part is there are a lot of people out there dealing with it. And as the show, please, as Marcus said, and you are a powerful collaborator, Mark. You touch people in our community and you allow everyone to have a voice. You know what I mean? Like it's not just a platform just to make Mark famous. You are definitely allowing yourself to be used to give voice to others, and so I just appreciate you for that.
Thank you for that.
um, but Elevation Global Media Group is also one of those kinds of platforms. And today's conversation was so powerful. There are so many people, especially in this pandemic, that have um, realized the toxicity in their relationship. They cannot and have been subject to abuse of many different kinds, whether it be mental, or physical, verbal, even sexual abuse. And in the pandemic it has made it more difficult, let's say it that way, if you're in that kind of situation and then you're locked into that, you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
whereas we were just talking about communication, right? We were talking about,
right.
okay, how can I hear you? I don't want to get on your nerves. You don't want to get on my nerves, those kinds of things. But that was a powerful conversation. So I urge others to tune in. But I wanted to answer one of the questions you asked, which was what was extremely difficult for
Right.
us
Mm-hmm.
during this time. And one of the things was my son is has health issues, many health issues. And he had been seizure free. He has epilepsy. And he had been seizure free prior to the pandemic for about 2 years or a year and a half, somewhere in there. And on Mother's Day, 2020, he had a seizure. And that was the beginning of a lot of crazy that happened during the pandemic, which, if you're going to the hospital,
Mm.
it was really hard because we weren't allowed in. It was really, really, really a
Right.
challenging
Right.
time. And it was some scary, life-threatening type stuff that we had to deal with. There was probably 12 ambulance trips and inpatient hospital stay eventually. And
Wow.
so that is a strain on a family. When we had other things happen, my husband lost, he's self-employed, but he also had a paid position which went away, right? So all of those dynamics that you experience impact you know impact how you relate to each other. That extra level of stress. Divorces don't happen because people don't love each other no more. Most of the
Right.
time they happen
Yeah.
because of those other things.
Yeah.
Not to say that we were ever even thinking about that, but we had to navigate through a lot of life issues that had nothing to do with the pandemic other than the fact that it was
That's
happening
right.
and we
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad that y'all was able to navigate through all of that. Um, you know, I can relate to that. Felicia and I had to navigate through some things as well this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think we've navigated. We're still, uh, well, we'll be celebrating 25 years in July.
Amen.
Um, I
Congratulations.
mean, and you don't know how major that is for us because we at one time we was having some real issues, some real
Right.
problems,
Right.
but we both decided one, even when we got married, that God put us together. There was a reason that we were put together.
Mm-hmm.
And when we could not face each other, we learned to face God.
I
Uh,
know that's right.
and even, with the difficulty of my son passing
Hmm.
in
So sorry.
October, you know, in a sense, it made us get even closer together. We was able to pull together there as well. So, I know how difficult it can be, and
Yeah.
again, hopefully encouraging other couples out there or people who are going through this stuff. You're not
Yeah.
alone. Don't ever think it's just y'all. Don't ever think that it's just your partner that's crazy. Guess what? You're not the only one to
Yeah.
think that, and guess what? You're the other side of the crazy.
That's it. I was
You're
gonna
going
say Eric will
you're
tell you
going
I'm
through
the
this.
crazy one.
Yeah, you just as much crazy as the other
That's
person.
exactly right. That's
Um,
exactly right.
but still, if you keep working at it, and we still got to
Mhm.
work at it.
That's
We're
it.
going to push for another 25. You know what I
I
mean?
know that's right.
Unless the Lord come back or He takes one of us, we're going to keep pushing.
Amen.
So I'm happy to
Amen.
hear that you was able to work through those things. But
Oh
pandemic
yeah.
or not, life happens. Life
Life
happens,
happens.
and things happen that are that'll kind of blindside us and
Mm-hmm.
things that we can't control. Um, but with each other and with God's help, you can make it through.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn how to turn to one another as well as to God, most of all.
And you're right, they're going to continue to happen.
Mhm.
Life isn't going to stop. And the word tells us very specifically tribulation will come. But it's how you endure, what you stand on, what your foundation is. And like you said, turn towards God when you can't turn towards each other. So you're right. All of what we've been through has brought us closer, not further apart, but it had
Yeah.
the potential
Oh yeah.
to, if we
Hmm.
if it's real easy to play the blame game and to realize
Hmm.
that you don't, like you said, bring your own brand of crazy to the relationship, to the dynamic.
Yeah.
And you love each other for that crazy, but then in the midst of it, you like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's real
Mm.
good. Thank you for
No, I
that.
appreciate that. Yeah, that wasn't a question I thought we was going to go in the direction of, but I appreciate it. I think that I think that helps out a lot of people.
Hmm.
Because once we become accountable for ourselves, and then remember who we are accountable to as well, things have a way of working out. You know.
They do.
Um, all right, good. I appreciate, man. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
So my other question had to do with when it came to your ministry. Like you said, you kind of mentioned in the beginning, you had planned on launching right when the pandemic kind of hit.
Hmm.
Was there anything else that you found to be challenging when you were trying to continue on with the ministry, when you had to make that switch, or you had to make that turn?
Absolutely. So, okay, so Women Elevated is a ministry that is actually the event was called From Trauma to Triumph. That was the first. We had a launch event in December where we took 32 women down to Charlotte and met up with another, almost 20 women, and we had a amazing launch event. But the premise was, one of the main premises was that we would provide this in-person kind of environment, right? One, we would do seminars, we would do all kinds of things to help women find themselves in their process, to process through their pain and ultimately make it to their purpose, but enjoy themselves along the way. One of the things that I love to do is travel, so that was going to be thrown in there too, and it still will be. Um, so women, the acronym I use is worthy, open, mighty, empowered, and new. Always embracing the new, right? Women will elevate together. Women, you put the purpose statement, um, the mission statement up earlier, but women from every walk of life, women from every race, culture, age group, and socioeconomic economic background will collaborate to create opportunities of empowerment and transformation. So um, all of that still was the vision, right? It was all like, okay, so how do you now take something that you want to have this interaction and then go to this online virtual format and still be impactful and effective? And so what we began to do back in 2020 is we began Women, Wine, and Wisdom, which was a weekly format where women could come together around the Word of God, around a Bible study, but they could come as their real selves. Yes, you heard me say Women, Wine, and Wisdom. So I wanted to, because I didn't want the judgmental folk. I'm just gonna be honest with you because I don't know any other way to be. I wanted the folks who understood that, yeah, we might have a glass of wine, but that doesn't make me any less effective in collaborating and helping others to grow. And but I'm not given to drunkenness,
Right,
but
right.
I may enjoy a glass of wine. So we had a wonderful, and it lasted 18 weeks. That's
Okay.
how wonderful the study was. So we did that virtually. We have a Lady Boss Masterclass that's going on right now, where folks have registered and come and get poured into by coaches from every kind of different holistic area. So last week it was about relationships. It's been about everything from your finances and fitness to your brand, understanding your personal brand and how to deliver that message in whatever way that God has shown you need to be showing up. So there's lots of different mental health. We had a week that we talked about self-love, self-worth. So we have been able to create an online presence. At the same time, we've also been able to help, I would say, local and global missions. So we have supported an organization in Zambia who is opening a women's shelter. So,
Wonderful.
I've been a part of, one of the things I believe in highly is collaboration. I recognize that it's a part of who I am. It's a kind of thread. It's like we can do so much more together than we can apart.
Absolutely.
So working with other organizations. So for me, that like the Lady Boss Masterclass, it's not just Placida giving the information. It is 8 weeks of 8 powerful coaches coming in and presenting what they have, because I don't have it all. Only thing I have was the vision that God gave me to bring us together, the
Mm,
church, to empower and equip his people so
mm.
that they can go out and empower and equip his people,
Yeah,
right? And so, yeah, that's a few of the things that we've done.
that's wonderful. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. And I believe you making that vision come true. I mean, because honestly, that's what God calls us all to do. Go tell the story and then make them disciples so that they can go out and tell the story.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all
Yeah.
have different ways to tell the story. He's given us all different gifts and
Yeah.
talents to be able to tell that story in our own words and our own, speech, our own methods. But he supplies the way for us to do it and the means to do it as
Absolutely.
well. Um, that's wonderful. So this being, one of the things I wanted to find out, and all month I've been trying to find women that I think who are mighty and powerful, who are fine examples of what God wants from his kingdom, from those citizens in his kingdom. And I think you
Yeah.
all are wonderful examples of that. But what I
Thank
also
you.
want to know is who were the ones, especially the women, who like really inspired you. Who were the ones that you looked up to, both famous and non-famous? Um, who do you
So,
really look at, or who really inspired you?
so when you asked me that question, I'm telling you, you had me doing some major thinking because what I realized is that I am so richly blessed. That's one of the things that I've realized. I wish I could tell you a famous person that inspired me, but for me, it's always been extremely personal. Um, and I've been through a lot of things in my life. I think that's one of the reasons that I, lead a women's ministry is because many of the things that people go through, I can relate to. And I've had powerful, loving, kind, wise women at different places in my journey pour into me. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand. I don't think that if they asked if someone asked them, they would say I was Placida's mentor, but they
Mm,
really were. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Um, so I would have to say I've had several, and I've had several in different areas of my life. So the first person that I have to give honor to is my mother. My mother laid the foundation for me because of who she was. I think the one thing I wanted to be when I grew up for sure was a wife and a mother because of who she was, because of
Mm,
the example that she set. And I believe she's still an amazing mother. She is not mistake free. I have spoken very, very um, candidly and honestly on public platforms about some of the things that have happened in my life that she's probably not the most proud of, but she understands they're a part of my story. But I can tell you that as a mom and as a wife, I was so impacted by her. I wanted to be my mom when I grew up. She was the mom that I
that's
wanted to
good.
introduce to my friends. You know,
Hmm.
she was cool. She was pretty. I could talk to her. You know, um, but when it came to a spiritual mentor, she knows that for that area of my life, she wasn't that. Like as a child, she wasn't my spiritual mentor. That wasn't what we talked about. I
Right,
mean, I knew
right.
God. I knew that there was God. We kind of went to church. We went to a Catholic church, and we
Mm,
went on Christmas and Easter. And I didn't really like them because they didn't really like us. We was black
mm,
and they was not. And it was just I didn't feel welcome. I didn't feel love. I'm not saying white people don't like black people,
right,
but I'm
right.
just telling you when I grew up in the 70s in Long Island, and we crossed the Woodfield Road is what it was called. Well, actually, it wasn't. Ocean Avenue was the crossover, and we went into the other side of town. You knew you was in the other side of town, right?
Mm.
When you
The
walked
good
into the
side of the
church
track.
door. Yeah, and I never felt Jesus in that church. So I didn't equate that to God and his love for me, but my aunt, yeah, she was my spiritual mentor. I call her Tita, but she was my tia Nana, and she introduced me. I still remember, and every time I hear Kirk Franklin's first project, ironically, I'm talking about Kirk Franklin when the world was talking about him yesterday, and got me real mad about that, by the way, Mark.
I was gonna ask a question about that, but I'll wait.
Well, wait, but yeah, so she was like a spiritual mentor. She took me to church. She helped me to understand. I got, my sister also 16 years old, got saved at a Pentecostal church, and she was going to bring her whole family with her, so I got saved when I was with my sister, and I was 12. I guess I was about 12 at the time, and I got saved because of my sister. So people like that who just came alongside of you and gave you what they had, you know what I mean, and taught you. Titus 2, could I read a scripture real quick?
Sure.
Titus 2 says, likewise with the female elders, and this is in the Passion Translation, lead them into lives free from gossip and drunkenness, and to be teachers of beautiful things. This will enable them to teach the younger women to love their husbands, to love their children, and to be self-controlled and pure, taking care of their household and being devoted to their husbands. By doing these things, the word of God will not be discredited. And so I had another spiritual mentor later in my life, when my life was going crazy. She showed up and she got her hands dirty in my life. She told me the hard things. She made sure my kids had food if things got thick at home. She made sure they was picked up from the bus stop. She made sure that, that I knew what God had to say about the matter, at that particular time in my life. And I was going through a hard time with my first husband. She said some really hard things to me. She's gone on to be with the Lord. Her name was Mother Roll, Helen Roll, but she helped me to become a woman of God.
Wow.
And those, early on, my sister and my aunt, they introduced me to the things of God. So those were like spiritual mentors.
Right.
And then I would call Cassandra. This shouldn't come as a surprise. She's kind of like a holistic mentor for me. I'm lucky enough to call her my best friend as well. But even if she decided that friendship wasn't, Placida's cool and I pour into her, but the amount of wisdom that she has deposited into my life cannot be quantified in dollars and cents.
Right.
We she calls me a little sister because how little sisters are. You get on your nerves sometimes, she get on my nerves sometimes, but we love each other to pieces and we have each other's back. But I honor her because a mentor is not just somebody who teaches you. It's gonna cost you something to be a mentor. It might cost you in your treasure. It's definitely gonna cost you in your time, but it's gonna cost you something to pour into someone's life in a way that you disciple them. So I look at her as being like a holistic mentor. She's helped me as a wife. She's helped me as as a mom. She's helped me as a business owner. I remember her telling me to come out from behind the bush. Like, stop being comfortable helping everybody else grow and build their businesses. What are you going to do? What did God call you to do? And nothing that I do takes away from what she does, or she does takes away from what there's no competition with us. It's just love. And sometimes it's tough love, but it's just love.
Yeah.
So she's definitely one of my mentors. And last but not least, well, actually, I have a few more, but there's two that I have to mention that I would say are business mentors for me. It was a young lady that came into my life really unexpectedly. And she sat me down one day and she said, do do you know who you are? Do you
Mm.
know what kind of gifts you bring to the table? Because you're not walking like you know who you are. And she began to just show me how to develop from a professional level to command the level of confidence that I should have. And her name is Darlene Dawkins. And I grew with her leadership in 1 year more than I had grown in probably 5 years
Wow.
with other leadership of people that were in that same position in my life. And then I'm saving my sister Tanya. So I have two sisters, but my sister Tanya. You asked me who did my website. My sister Tanya did my website.
Yeah.
You asked me. I mean, she's deposited money. We've had a business together. She like so my mentors are like they're not. I don't look out at Gabrielle Union and say I
Right.
want to be
Right.
like you. I have people who have come close, who have cried with me, who have, sent me $20 when my stuff wasn't balancing up that week, right?
Right.
Y'all don't
Right.
want to talk about that, but my stuff might not. You know what I mean? And it's if you building a business and you got people that are willing to get their hands dirty with you. They're willing to give you hard advice. They're willing to say, nope, that idea is not a good one. Here's how you should refine it. It might be a good idea, but it needs some development. Tanya's that person. She's willing to put the work in to and she always has been. She always has been for me.
Wow. What a blessing, that you can have such, and like you said, you have more that you can probably reflect on uh,
Mm-hmm.
throughout different stages in your life
Yeah.
and your growth. But what a blessing to have so many people that just kind of entered into your circle and just started to pour into. Some were
Yeah.
natural through family. Some
Mm-hmm.
just became, from friends. And, it's funny. I've been asking people a lot, who have they looked at, as their mentors, who inspired
Mm-hmm.
them. And I've yet to hear somebody say, not that I'm saying anything against these people, but I've yet to hear anybody say somebody like Michelle Obama. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Those big names that you kind of
Yeah.
always hear out there in the
Yeah.
secular world. Um, but it's those people that actually had a personal hand in what they did. And not only that, I really appreciate that sometimes, well, I think we often have to understand that we are mentoring people and we may not even realize we're mentoring people.
Exactly.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes, yes, she may take on that role, but sometimes you're just living life and there's
That's
somebody
right.
just watching your life and
That's
they're
right.
looking at how you're handling things and what you're doing. You know what I mean? And you're
Yes.
mentoring them and you don't even really know you're mentoring them,
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful thing. And I mean, to listen to you talk about this person and that person and that person, I mean, that's a real blessing.
Yeah.
Not everybody um, has that blessing. Not everybody recognizes when those gifts come into their life.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Thank you.
You mentioned Cassandra. I remember the first time Cassandra and Tony. Now, I had known Tony because we both had taught or coached football at one time, and he even
Mhm.
asked me to come and coach one of his teams with him at one time. And I remember when the first time they invited me, it may have been one of their anniversary parties, and I was like, because I wasn't that close to Cassandra. I knew Tony, but I
Mhm.
wasn't that close to
Mhm.
Cassandra just yet. But I felt like it's something special here.
Mhm.
There's going to be something about this relationship. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But you have to be able to keep your eye out for
Yeah.
those relationships.
Yes.
You can't be
That's
blind.
good.
You
That's
can't allow
good.
yourself to ignore the gifts that God is sending to you during a certain
Mhm.
time. You know what I mean? And I'm
Absolutely.
thinking even like with that particular thing has allowed me to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And this is
Yeah.
like years and years later,
That's right. That's
years
right.
and years later. So, you never know how God is going to shape you in your relationships. I had mentioned earlier, Bishop Johnson often says, your blessings come through or they flow through your relationships.
That's
And
right.
you have to develop the right kind of relationships.
That's
Because
right.
Lord knows if you develop the wrong relationship with the wrong one, There ain't no telling what you inviting into your life.
That's
You know,
it right there. That's it
I'm
right there.
thankful. I'm
Yeah.
so truly, truly thankful for like the relationship that the Lord has allowed me to do, or
Amen.
to have.
Me too.
So before I go any further, I just want to put up the number, y'all. If y'all want to call in, I'm sure Placida wouldn't mind talking to you.
Absolutely not. I would love
Answering
it.
any questions, you can call 410-513-9499. Again, 410-513-9499. If you have a question, you have a comment, feel free to do that. Do understand, because I know some of y'all from Mount Pleasant, I'm only on for an hour. I only got about 20 more minutes. I know how y'all can be.
Know how you get down. I want to say something about that relationship piece that you just said about inviting the right kinds of relationships. I do believe it has a lot to do with the seeds you sow. So
Mhm.
I would venture to say, Mark, that you've been depositing good seed.
Yeah.
And those relationships, the fruit from them, right? Because you could notice, let's just use Cassandra and Tony again for an example. You can notice how blessed the relationship is. But if you're the wrong kind of person yourself, then you might be blocked from
Mm.
pursuing that relationship. But when
Right.
you deposit good seed, the law of sowing and reaping shall never fail,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
so this conversation about this mentoring, right? All of that seed, what that was deposited into me, when really honestly I didn't have nothing to give back, right? I was in my very early stages of development. So
Right.
really I was just soil at that
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the seed that was deposited in me, I have blossomed in
Yeah.
many different areas. Areas that some things still need to be pruned, right? Some stuff still I'm working through. I'm getting better. I'm growing day by day. But there's got to be some fruit that comes from that good seed. And so as your mentors pour into you, there's going to be a return. There's
Yeah.
going to be a return.
No,
So
you're definitely proof of that, because you're giving back so much more. I mean, just listen to what you were talking about with your ministry over this past year. A lot of ministries with a whole lot more did a whole lot less than what you were accomplishing this past year.
wow.
You know what
Thank
I
you.
mean?
Thank you.
Um, and so, I mean, that's just amazing. But again, that's just because of what was planted in you, and along the way, you got watered along the way, and now the fruit is coming forth. So,
Amen.
um, I think
Amen.
we are truly blessed. And I thank you for those words of encouragement. I know you, along with Cassandra and so many others, you all have the great ability to encourage. That's part of your gifting, is encouragement. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's what I love so much. Almost everything that y'all talk about is elevate, elevate. Get
Yeah.
you out of where you at to move you up to where you need to be. You know what
Amen.
I
That's
mean?
it.
So
That's it.
I truly appreciate that. So again, feel free to call in, y'all. One of the things that I do, I have like 3 questions that I'll ask. And you kind of already mentioned one, but one question that I ask is like, what was your salvation story? You told me it's because you had were going to church with your sister, and that's when you got saved. Was there anything in particular? You said at 12. Some people think that at
Yeah.
12 ain't nothing going on. How much can be happening in a 12-year life, but was there anything at that time that you was kind of really struggling with that really was the
Yeah.
catalyst that got you to your salvation story?
So I told you I've been through some hard things. So I will start with my mom at 10 moved my okay, so at 10 years old, I was placed in the middle of it wasn't a divorce, but a separation issue between my mother and my father.
Okay.
Um, so they were going through marital issues, and my mom made the decision to leave. And she wasn't just leaving and going up the block, she was leaving New York and moving to California.
Mm.
And I was the one that they were fighting over. So my dad told my mom that she would that he would send me to California after he took me to the Michael Jackson concert. Sounds so silly, right? But I had tickets to the Michael Jackson concert that summer. And so my mom was like, okay, that's fine. She can stay. She can go to the concert. And then, she's coming to live with me. Long story short, he never sent me. And so for the next 2 years, I lived without my mother at a very critical time in my development. It was a very difficult time for me because I had 5 siblings, but I was the one that they were fighting over. I was the youngest. So it was a really difficult time for me. I was going to tell you about 2 other women who poured into me. One of them was a lady named Mrs. Bradshaw and another lady named Mrs. Sutton. Mrs. Sutton I ended up living with. Mrs. Bradshaw was the mother of my best friend at the time. But they served as mentors in that season for me. They helped me. They were mothers when my mother was far away. We didn't have cell phones then, y'all. I remember writing a letter to my mom and changing my last name to her last name because I was so angry with that. Just tells you how confused I was. Like I was so angry with my dad. One day I was angry with my mom. One day I was just angry. I think that's where the angry started because I would eventually have challenges with anger as I moved through life. Like anger is not under, not when I allow God to have his way in my life. But if I just do Placida, that's the first emotion that rises up. I'm coming. I mean, that's where I think I learned that anger is the only thing you have, right? That's yours. Nobody can take it from you. So anyway, I needed God. I needed God in a bad way. And I think that if I look back, I think that it was the pain that I felt with all that was going on in my life. Eventually my mother came back and it wasn't good. It ended up getting worse. She came back because of her children. She couldn't be away from us. And then one night she couldn't stay, she had to leave or whatever. That's her story, not mine, hers. Right. So, and again, back to the pandemic and the marriage issues and the things that happen in our homes that impact our children really, for a long time, forever. They become our trauma stories, but we can be healed, right? So anyway, I didn't get saved and have a Christian storybook, happily ever after existence. Many hard things would follow my decision to accept Christ as my savior. And so I have a lot of stories that happen in between when I began to really live my life for Christ.
I mean, I don't think anybody can say it's been a happily ever after once you receive Christ. If anything, sometimes things get ramped up just so he can teach you some lessons in life and show you that he is there for you.
That's right.
So I pray that people are learning or have learned that, walking this life, keeping it real is a hard thing. Walking a Christian life is not all a bed of roses. And,
that's right.
The Lord allows things to come your way to mature you.
For sure.
And make you grow up in some ways. So is there one time that you can really think of when God showed up and you realized that God was your personal God?
So I would say my point of no return happened when my son was diagnosed with leukemia. So I was already kind of doing my best to live my life for Christ, but what I saw him do in me and in that situation, I knew there was a God, and I knew that he knew me, and he was with me, and he gave me peace that was beyond understanding, and people recognized him in me. And I can really say, well, real quick, I'll just tell you that I was in a relationship where I got pregnant. I moved to Maryland in 2000. I got pregnant 2 months after I got here, and I was not married. And this was my third pregnancy, same person, a high school sweetheart, but we were not married. And we had just relocated, so it was not an ideal time to be pregnant. I had just
Hmm.
started a job, I was moving up the corporate ladder, and it was just like, what am I going to do? These people going to think I lied to them. I'm pregnant. It's just not good. But I went, I wasn't seeing it as a gift. I wasn't seeing it as a blessing.
Hmm.
Um, I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? But I wanted to keep my baby. So I went to, you know, the conversation. I'm going to just say it this way. We were not in agreement. My ex-husband and myself were not in agreement. I wanted to keep my baby, but up until that point, I was not strong enough to say, no, I'm I'm going to do it the way I hear God telling me to do it, not the way you're telling me to do it,
Mm.
right? And I did it my way, and he was not happy. I kept my baby. I mean, I made the appointment to get the abortion. I went to the clinic. I did it. I tried to listen to him, but I couldn't. And it was just something inside of me that's saying, you cannot do this. And I'm gonna
Mm.
tell you, it wasn't because I was super spiritual either. It
Right,
wasn't.
right.
That wasn't it, because I had already done it. So it wasn't like this would have been my first time. So this is called Keep It Real. So I hope y'all can handle that out there
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
in the virtual world. This is my story. So anyway, long fast forward 9 months, and we're separated. It's the day that because it was a mess. So it's the day that I had a pictures planned, a family portrait for me and my two boys and my pregnant self. And I got a phone call from Johns Hopkins that says, you have to come here right now. Um, and I'm like, what? Can I wait till after I go to the picture people? No, you need to come now. So anyway, long story
Mm.
short, they tell me that my son, my 4-year-old, I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and I'm 9 months about to deliver. Um, he has leukemia.
Mm.
And so I met with his doctor that day. And because I was 9 months pregnant, this is very early on, they told me that I should save the cord blood. I should save the cord blood. But so we would prepare for that in the next coming days. Well, guess what? I went into labor that night. So there
Wow.
was no preparations made to save that cord blood. So I'm literally on the table saying, you have to save my cord blood. You have to save my cord
Wow.
blood while they're delivering this baby. The baby came fast because apparently I was in labor all day, but I didn't know it because I was dealing with the diagnosis and just the trauma and the pain or whatever. So as soon as they laid my son down for the night, I felt the labor pains. And 45 minutes later, I had my daughter. But guess
Wow.
what? They found a container, they saved the cord blood, and that cord blood saved my son's life.
Wow. Look at God.
So that knowing that situation, that I couldn't ever turn back on God after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no turning my back. There was no, he had shown me that number one, Placida, you hear me.
Mm.
You hear my voice. He said, my sheep, they know my voice. I couldn't not have that baby,
Right.
because if I didn't have that baby, I would also not have my son
Awesome.
now.
Awesome. Wow. Look at God.
So yeah, that's
Wow.
one of the
That's amazing.
testimonies.
Well, that one will keep. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Wow.
Amen.
That's amazing. See, I knew I was going to have a good time listening and talking with you. Um,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, again, I appreciate your transparency. I don't want anybody ever to feel like they can't be transparent on here and keep it real.
Hmm.
Um, because that ultimately, that's what's going to help others. When they hear the testimonies of others and how God works, that's what this is about. Or
I don't
when.
know any other way, Mark. I'll tell you what, it is what it is, because it is not our ego or our cute picture. You know what I mean? That's gonna set people free. People need to know, like, I've been where you are at, and there is another side of this. There is the victory side. Like, you're not gonna stay in that place of pain forever, but you
Yeah.
may need somebody to reach out a hand and let you know it's gonna be okay. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I appreciate that you what you just said, because I'm still working through some things myself, and and we all are, and Felicia as
Hmm.
well. Um,
Hmm.
and sometimes, I hear the scripture, all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
right now, I still just can't see the good,
Mm.
but it's still fresh. It just
Yeah.
happened in October. You know what I mean?
It is. It is
But
fresh.
hearing, and what I'm saying is hearing stories like your testimony, and kind of like just call them stories. Um,
Hmm.
but your testimony or your life experience encourages me, because it makes me feel like maybe one day I'll be able to see the good, and that
Yeah.
I'll be able to help somebody in turn, you know,
Hmm.
because I've had to walk it. Um,
Hmm.
I'm praying that happens sooner than later, but
Me too.
that's up to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I say it, I don't mind saying it at all. Um, since we're being transparent, I've never doubted God. It's like when it happens, it's not like, oh, there must not be a God. And
Right.
you know, did I get angry? Yes. Am I angry to some
Absolutely.
degree? Yes. But at the same time, over the months, he's shown me that he loves me, and that he's still here, and he's still
Hmm.
present, and he's made his presence known through people like you, through other people as well.
Hmm.
Um, but
Hmm.
it's still some things I gotta still work out. It's like my relationship is not the same that it was beforehand, and I guess that's to
Yeah.
be expected. But
Sure.
hearing your story, and I pray that others hear it as well. And it may not be my situation, but whatever situation they may have gone through, if
Hmm.
there's something that you're still wrestling with, that you still have pain with, pay attention to these kind of tellings, because it shows that God does have a plan. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And God
Yeah.
does speak to you. Don't ever get to the point where you're thinking, I must be going crazy
Hmm.
thinking God talks to me. No, God talks to you.
Yeah.
And you can tell if you spend enough time in prayer, enough time in reading his word,
Hmm.
and just, meditating on him and his word, you can tell when it's his voice versus your voice.
That's right. That's
You know
right.
what I mean? And you
I
need to pay
do.
attention to that.
That is so good. Thank you for saying that. In fact, that it called my eyes to the words behind my head, which is the scripture Jeremiah 29:11. Plans. He has a plan to prosper you and not to
Hmm.
harm you, and
Yeah.
to give you a hope and a future. And you're right. We do get angry and we don't understand because there's another part that I won't share now, but maybe we'll talk again later. But my divorce was like a huge blow. How could you call me to minister to women and then I can't even get marriage right, Lord?
Hmm.
Like, so this is my second marriage. My first marriage ended in divorce. And you know, I couldn't imagine ever getting past that pain, not to compare pain, but I couldn't imagine. I was so messed up. I felt useless. I felt like whatever he called me for, I was no longer valid to be able to do that. And I want to say this: he can handle that. He can
Yeah.
handle those rough emotions.
Yeah.
He can handle, he's made us, he knows us. He's got none of that's too much for him. It's when we try to hold it back that we end up
Yeah.
broke,
Hmm.
broken, busted, disgusted, right? So we want these kind of platforms and these kind of opportunities that we can kind of express, find that safe person that you can express um that too. But of course your heavenly father is always available to you, and he
Yeah.
will. And my prayer is, it's funny because when everything happened with your son, I wanted so desperately, like, I prayed for you guys, I prayed for your family, and I'm just grateful to God. I'm getting a little emotional because I'm grateful to God that he gave us this moment.
Yeah.
Tomorrow isn't promised, but you and your beautiful wife, y'all will continue to impact the lives of others. And I don't know how. I don't have the answer, what that was about or what it's for, but he will provide it. I'm sure of it. And I'm just going to continue to pray for you. But you are in
Yeah.
the midst of your pain, serving and blessing others.
Yeah. And honestly, it's only by his grace and his love and support that I'm able to do it. Um, and sometimes I feel like it's just a distraction, and to some
Hmm.
degree, I guess it is. But um, something just wouldn't let me let this go for whatever
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
Well, I know the reason, but
Well,
um, yeah,
it's
you
good.
know, all I can do is trust that he loves me, and I do believe he loves me, even though I don't understand him. You
Hmm.
know, I believe he
Yeah.
loves me, and something is good is going to happen. But we'll see. I can
Well,
only live one day at a time and try to remain obedient to him and what he's told me to do. So,
amen. Amen. Well, you're doing a
um,
great job. And thank you for this opportunity to
well,
just
I
share.
so appreciate you coming. I knew way back when, like I said, it's been almost a year now. Um, I knew after I had Cassandra, was like the other person I want is Placida. Because to me, I mean, y'all go together. You know what I mean? It's like I can't have one
Thank you.
without the other. Like I gotta space them out because I need to make sure I get some other people in. But I knew that I wanted to have you on as well.
Thank
Um,
you.
the last question I ask before we end, because I usually ask 3 questions. The last question would be, if there's one thing you would want the world to know about God, what would that thing be?
He's a redeemer.
Hmm.
He's a redeemer. Don't give up. Don't make your thoughts of him. Don't put him in your box. You haven't done enough for him to not be able to fix it, for him to not be able to
Amen.
use it, for him to not be able to make it valuable. What we consider valuable is nothing in the eyes of God. He is the one who determines worth. And so let him redeem you, your situation, your resources, your time, your money. He is well able to do that.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Well,
I'll leave you with this last. I guess you know this gentleman. Um, he
he's
said,
biased.
"What an amazing woman." I didn't want to say he was biased, but yeah, I'm sure he would know straight up if you how amazing you are. I think you're amazing as well.
Thank you,
I
Mark.
do appreciate you coming and being on with us and sharing um, your life story. I mean, really, I'm sure there's so much more to it, but just allowing us to uh, see some of who you are. I've learned more than
Thank
I knew
you.
before. So I really appreciate that. So I appreciate the time that you spent with us.
Thank
Um,
you.
well, y'all, I really do appreciate it. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. Please be sure to share this conversation with others. If you have not liked the page, like the page. Even more important, if you wouldn't mind following the page, that'd be great. Not that I'm really big on, numbers or anything like that, but I just want more people to be privy to the conversation, especially conversations like this that can be so helpful to other people, and that others can be blessed in the kingdom. Um,
Yeah.
by no means do I want this just be for the kingdom, because I want this to reach other people who may not yet be in the kingdom, but this may entice them to want to be in the kingdom. That's
Mm-hmm.
what these conversations are really about, and I'm gonna get more into that a little bit later. Um, the last thing I'll say is one of the things I want to start doing, and I just kind of tested it today. If you could go to the page, I put a poll out there. I did share the poll as well. I'm thinking I'll start doing some polls online. Um, maybe do a weekly poll, get some opinions from you, some thoughts, some ideas, things like that. One of the polls I was gonna ask, plus I brought up briefly about the whole Kirk Franklin thing. Was Kirk
Mm-hmm.
Franklin wrong? I'll let you know. As a father, uh, although I did my best, I ain't going to like I always got it right, but I did
Mm-hmm.
my best not to curse at my children. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had no ideas letting them know where they can get off at the same time, especially as they got older. And sometimes I said to somebody else, sometimes you just gotta let people know, yeah, you may see the cross, you may see the collar, okay, but don't think I've always been a good Christian man.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I've forgotten everything that could be done to you.
Right.
So one of I still may put the poll up there.
I like the poll. Do the poll.
Yeah. Do you think Kurt was wrong? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So I may put that out there as well. But
Oh,
again, thank y'all so much. Know that I love you, but always remember, as much as I say I love you, nobody loves you like God loves you.
come on now.
By sending his son to the cross. His
Yes.
son proved his love for you for dying in your place on that cross for your penalty and for your sin.
Amen.
And most importantly, we're getting ready to celebrate it within a couple of weeks. He got up like he said he would, like he promised he would, with all power in his hand. If you don't understand those three things I just said, please feel free to reach out. Reach out on Facebook. You can, call the number, leave a message. I'll get back to you. But by all means, if you don't know what that means, please make sure you find out. And I'm happy to talk to you about it. That's the best conversation you can ever have. That will be life-changing, eternal. All right. Thank you again, Placida. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Thank
yes.
y'all again. Love y'all.
Send my love to your beautiful wife.
I certainly will.
All righty. Take care now.